Okay, sorry, 5th grade. All right, so again, we said 3 times 4 was 12. So we do the top by 4 to get our equivalent fraction. So 1 times 4 is 4. So that's how you change 1/3 into 12ths. How many 12ths are there? 4. So there's 4 12ths. Okay, 1/4 to get 12ths, you times it by what? 3. I just gave you the answer, that's okay. 1 times 3 gives us 3. So there are 3 12ths. 1/4 equals 3 12ths. That matches the top picture up there with the red and the green 12ths. Okay, now on to 233, where we can find, how can you use multiples to find a common denominator? Please put down one way and put our steps here. Your first step will be to multiply the denominators. Again, remember that's your bottom number. The second step will be then to rename each fraction to have a common denominator. Okay, so our first example here is 7 12ths and 5 6ths. So our first step says to multiply the denominators. So what are denominators? 12 and what? 6. So for here, put down number 1 in your example, the first step. 12 times 6 is going to give us what? 72. Good. So now we need to take this denominator and make equivalent fractions. So you take 7 12ths to equal something out of 72. And again, make your equivalent fractions. 12 times what gives you 72? 12 times 6 gives us 72. So we do the same on the top. 7 times 6 gives us what? 42. So our first equivalent fraction is 42/72. Okay, now we need to take 5 6 and give it the common denominator of 72. Again, 6 times what gives us 72? This one I did for you. 6 times 12. 5 times 12 gives us what? 60. Okay, so again, your steps are to take your denominators and multiply them so we can have the same denominator, because that's our objective, that's our goal, to have the same denominator. Okay, then you take and make your equivalent fractions, and we get 42/72 and 60/72. This would be a good time, if you have any questions, write it down. Okay, now another way is to check to see if one denominator is a multiple of the other. So here in 7 12ths and 5 6, you will see that 12 is a multiple of 6. Okay, so what that means is that the 7 12ths we can leave alone. And you will see here I put down at the bottom, that's in our answer. I didn't need to change 7 12ths, it can stay the same. But what I do need to now do is take 5 6 and make an equivalent fraction out of 12. And you will see here we did that by taking 6 times 2 to get 12 and 5 times 2 to get 10. So we have now two numbers that have 12ths, 7 12ths and 10 12ths. So one way is to take and just multiply your denominators. The other way is to see are one of the numbers a multiple. So then that means you would only have to change one of the fractions instead of both of them. All right, good job, 5th grade. Okay, now we're going to jump right into guided practice in the Do You Know How. It asks you in 1 through 4, find a common denominator for each pair of fractions. Okay, and then we're going to also, it's not in the directions, but we're also going to practice renaming them right away. So we have some good examples of that. All right, so number 1 is 2/3 and 3/4. Okay, the one way is to take and multiply our denominators, which are what two numbers? 3 and what? 4. Good. So what is 3 times 4? 12. Good job. Okay, now we're going to rename those fractions using the denominator of 12 so they both have the same denominator. So I need 2/3 to equal something over 12. 3 times what, 5th grade, gives me 12? 4. Good. So to make it an equivalent fraction, I do the same to the top. What's 2 times 4? 8. Good. So now I have 8 12ths. Now I need to do the same thing with 3/4 and give it a denominator of 12. 4 times what gives me 12? 3. Good. So then I do the same to the top to get my equivalent fraction. What's 3 times 3? 9. Good. Now, so my fractions now are 8 12ths and 9 12ths, and they have the same denominator. All right, good job. Let's look at our next one. Number 2, 1/6 and 1/3. Okay, our first step is to go ahead and take these denominators, okay, and multiply them. So 6 times 3 gives me what? 18. Good job. All right, now I need to take that 18 and change our other fractions to equivalent fractions using the denominator of 18. So 6 times what gives me 18? 3. Perfect. And so I do the same to the top. What's 1 times 3? 3. Excellent. So our first fraction is 3/18. Now I need to take 1/3 and change it to 18ths. 3 times what gives me 18? 3 times 6. Times this by 6, and we have 6/18. So our new fractions now are 3/18 and 6/18 that have the same common denominator. Now you will notice this was doing one way. Could we look at these and use the other way, which is do 6 and 3 have a common multiple? Yes, we can have 3 as a multiple of what? Of 6. So instead of changing 1/6, I can keep that the same, but then I need to change 1/3 to make it out of 6. So we would have 1/3 to equal something out of 6. 3 times what gives me 6? Times 2. 1 times 2 gives me 2. So I could have just left 1/6 and changed this one to 2/6, and now they both still have a common denominator. So this one you could see there was 2 ways to do it. You had a choice. All right, good job. If you have any questions, please get them down.